everybody, Manga Mike here, and it has been quite some time since I've posted a tutorial, or not a tutorial, I don't want to call them that because they're not tutorials, but a learning video about artwork. Um, I'm making another video that I'll probably actually put up first that's kind of explaining what I want to do with this channel and where I was versus where I am and stuff like that. But in today's video, I want to focus on two things. I want to focus on drawing the head at any angle using two different kinds of methods. This method on the left is the cube method, or that's what I call it at least, and the method on the right is the Loomis method. So first, before we get to these, I want to start with this. Everybody has seen this exact tutorial on YouTube. I've done this tutorial. Everybody's done this tutorial. How to draw a face. So I don't want to poo-poo this method. This is fine. This teaches you how to draw a face in the front view. It also teaches you different proportions within, well, hopefully y'all can't hear that lawnmower outside, the weed whacker outside, but anyways, it also shows you the proportions within the face and how important that can be and how to basically do that accurately. Now, where this falls flat, in my opinion, is that I see a lot of people doing this part of the head, right? And you go straight across, and that's your brow line, and that's how eyes look. Eyes appear flat in this view, and you end up drawing something like this for an eye, right? That's your eye. Well, no. Your head very rarely is straight up, front facing, no tilt at all, right? Which is why you can see I kind of put this line in, and it's very exaggerated, but that's okay. Because I'm trying to think of this top part of the head as it's not quite that deep, but as a cylinder or a sphere, you know, and it's going around. That gives you a more dynamic look to your eyes, because instead of your eyes being this flat thing, your eyes are working on this curve, and it gives your drawing a little bit more dynamism, I guess. So to learn heads, I think starting off with this is perfectly fine. Take from this the proportions and stuff, and then immediately move to doing these kinds of methods. So I'm going to flip my page over, and we're going to talk about the two methods a little bit more and why I think they're important. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do separate videos explaining the in-depth how to do these two methods. But for this video, I'm just going to compare and contrast my experiences using the methods. So these are important because these will allow you to draw a head from imagination that is relatively accurate. And you should be able to do it at any angle, no matter what. The Loomis method, which you can see I've written Proco on the side, this is kind of where I've learned that method, at least most of it. Other people I've watched YouTube tutorials of as well. But this method right here is great because you start off with a sphere and you end up with a head. And that's great because when you are using the sphere for your eye line and for your nose and stuff like that, but in particular your brow line, I should say, it innately has this roundness to it that looks very appealing because you're using a sphere, right? And when you chop a sphere or you use a half of a sphere, you get a hemisphere that's very circular. So I think that this method is great for that, and it's great for really extreme views as well. So if you want the head even, facing even further up, so here, it's gonna be very bad, but I'm gonna just do. So if you want your head facing like this, right? And this is your eye line. Right, you get this nice rounded view, and it's also going to help you with your proportion of your face, even in this extreme view. So if I were to chop the third off and all that good stuff, you'd get something like this, and you would be able to work your magic from there. So that's why I think that this is a great method. Now, why would I even talk about the cube method? Well, I find personally that the cube method offers more structure to the head than this method does. What do I mean by that? In a cube method, you get a better idea, in my opinion, of the perspective and of what the side plane and the front plane of the faces are. So, or the face is, I should say. So let's, I'm gonna pull this down. Let's quickly, I'm gonna redraw this one down here for you. And you can also see the speed at which I can draw it at. So you get a cube and it's in perspective, right? So let's say, I'm not doing a very good job with my perspective, but that's okay. Let's say that this is your cube, right? So you split. Again, I'm going to explain how to do this in a different tutorial video. So then you add your third down here. Add your ear over here. Pull this down. Chin. Rough jawline. And boom, you have a pretty accurate head. Now, what do I mean by side plane, front plane, and why is that important? This right here is very obviously your side plane, and this right here is very obviously your front plane. You don't get that as much, at least if you're not really great at understanding a sphere in 3D in perspective within your own head. This is going to be a better starting point in my opinion, because cubes are easy to draw. What I drew that in maybe, I don't know, 30 seconds, right? Loomis method, doing that and coming out with something that's this accurate, that would take me probably 2 or 3 minutes. Part of that is because I don't practice the Loomis method as much as I do the cube method. But the other part is it's much easier to use your perspective with a cube. Now, my final point of this video is actually going to be why it's important to study both. Each one has its deficit. This one, in my opinion, is harder to imagine the perspective, while this one, in my opinion, fails to really help you grasp this nature of the face where it's rounded. The different things are rounded. So if you learn both methods and at least the rules and ideas of both methods, it will allow you to use whichever one you're comfortable with while also applying ideas from the other. So for instance, you saw right here, even if it's not the most accurate thing in the world, I already just innately rounded this part of the brow line off when I did this, right? That's only because of my understanding of the Loomis method that I was able to do that. Just for instance, like if you wanted to do this with the Loomis method, you might find this part of the head easier to draw if you think of it as a cube instead. So those are kind of the pros and cons, and why I tend to gravitate a little more towards the cube method as a person that's kind of in between being like a beginner and a novice in artwork. And yeah, I hope that you found this kind of discussion helpful. Like I said, I will go into depth on how to use each particular method and the rules to each method in a future video. If you want that information a little quicker, Proco has great tutorial videos on the Loomis method, and I'm really sorry. I'll link it in the description. This one I learned from, I think the YouTuber's YouTube handle is Kuzamari or Kuzamaru. It's Chris Crady, I believe is how you say his last name. But this method is from him. I watched his video on this and how to draw anything. That video, I probably watched it like, I don't know, 10 or 11 times and practiced with him and really grasped this concept a lot. And it actually, I think, helped me a lot in my artwork in general. So that is the video for today. I hope you found that helpful, and I hope that this gives you an understanding as to why these tutorials, while they have their place, aren't the end-all be-all, and doing these methods in the long run will help you with different things like mapping and such, because once you figure out these proportions, you know that your eyes are going to be in here, and your nose is going to be here and all that stuff no matter what view you're in. And I would like to end the video by saying thank you for watching all the way to the end. And if you would like to support me, you can go ahead and, shameless plug, you can go ahead and look up my Webtoons comic. It's called Steam. It is a work in progress and something I'll talk about in my other video as well. But anyways, I hope that this was helpful, and I'm Manga Mike, and I'm out.